morning, everyone. I hope you're all doing really well. I'm happy to be joining you today for a little Q&A. I asked a few weeks ago, even probably more than a month ago, on my Instagram account, I popped a little questions box and asked you to ask me some questions for a potential Q&A on my YouTube channel. So that's what we're doing today. I selected a little bit more, I think 10 or 11 questions. I have them on my laptop because I am recording on my phone. I still haven't invested in a proper vlogging camera, so that'll do. So that's what we're gonna do today. I'm gonna walk you through some New York questions, obviously, because a lot of people watching are from Europe, where I'm from. I'm from France and moved to New York a couple years ago, a bit more than 2 years ago now. And I'm also gonna answer a few questions like daily life questions living in New York, some questions about work as well, and some other bits and pieces. So yeah, actually you can see that I finally changed this morning after, I think it was at the end of February, so it's more than 3 months, but I finally switched up my earrings because I got my ears pierced for the very first time in last February. So I finally switched them up and I have proper adult earrings and not medical earrings. So I'm very happy about this. And yeah, I went to Studs. Service was great. I will highly recommend going there. And these are also from Studs. I wanted to go back there before buying from any other brand. So yeah, I feel like the look is finally complete. So let's get started. Actually, there are quite a few new people here on my channel, so I just wanted to reintroduce myself a little bit. My name is Léana. I live in New York. I've been living here, as I said, for a bit more than 2 years now. I'm originally from France and I moved here for work. I had interned in New York before and I wanted to come back to New York because I just loved it so much. I loved just the work ethic, the fast-paced environment, and the fact that it was more exotic to me than Europe, where I'm from. So I moved here for work. I work at Asseline Publishing. I'm an editor there. And yeah, that's why I moved here. And a lot of people ask me, like, how did you do that? And to go into the nitty-gritty that is not necessarily familiar to a lot of people or even to Americans, I moved here with the J1 visa, which was 18 months, and it's for recent graduates. After these 18 months, I switched to an O1 visa, which is extraordinary ability, which might be a bit of a stretch, but is basically for everyone working in the creative industry, or, you know, just if you have your name published, which was the case for me. I had published like books, magazines, stories online. So you need to build up your portfolio basically, and that's what I did. And I got the O1, which is for 3 years, renewable indefinitely. And you need to sponsor like a company to do that. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm on this O1 visa, and yeah, I'm here until further notice. And it was really something I had wanted to do for such a long time, because I visited New York for the first time with my parents just for a week when I turned 15. And I really loved it, but it wasn't necessarily like a love at first sight or like I want to live here. Quite far from it. It was a bit overwhelming because at the time I had not lived in any other big city. But after getting my baccalaureate in the northeast of France, where I'm from and where my family still lives, I went to Paris. I went to ESMOD. I did 3 years at ESMOD in fashion business, and then did at the end of those 3 years an internship here for 6 months in New York at Asseline already. And just loved it so much. It was such an adjustment, and I'll walk you through in more details after of how different it is and what an adjustment it is to actually move from Europe to America in general. And after my internship, I went to London. I did an MA in fashion journalism at Centre St. Martin's. That was during COVID, so it was a little tricky and not necessarily what I expected, but loved it so much. I started working there in London. I started working freelance first, and after a few months I found a full-time job at Net-a-Porter, where I was a product writer. So I was writing all the description boxes for the website and all this kind of editorial content for the website, which was great. I mean, I loved the experience. It was a fixed term contract for 6 months, and I'm glad it was, because for me it just wasn't the right fit. It was just too repetitive. Every day was the same, and I loved what I did, but there was no challenge to it in a way, and I feel like I need a job in which 2 days are not the same. So after those 6 months, I decided to come back to New York, where I got my job at Asseline, and that's where I'm at right now. The other question that I got about New York was, what was the most surprising thing for when you moved to the US, to New York, and the most challenging thing? The most surprising to me was, it was also the most challenging. That's why I linked those two questions together, because oh my goodness, it was such an adjustment. I had lived here for 6 months before, but it was so different because obviously I was working, I was not interning, and when you intern, things are way easier. But when you work, you are an actual resident for tax purposes, so it's also very, very different in terms of status that you have in the country. But yeah, let's just say it was an adjustment, because I always say to people who ask me that the US is kind of an island in itself, because everything is so different. For example, it took me several months to be able to have a good credit card, because obviously it's the country of credit cards, and I only had debit cards before in Europe, because credit is just not really a thing except for businesses, and it's not common, let's say. So moving here was an adjustment, because you have to build up your credit score. If you don't have a credit score, you're basically non-existent in this country, which is a bit of a challenge, because you need that credit score to, you know, open, maybe not open a bank account, but you do need that to be recognized in the country and to have kind of just, yeah, to be present and recognized. So that was a big adjustment for me, that kind of whole other processing, and the fact that all the admin things were very different. You need to get obviously a US number, because otherwise you can't do anything at all. So I had done that before I moved, so that was a good move. I learned that from the internship. Same for, you know, just getting an apartment, for example. When I arrived, I didn't get an apartment on my own or with a roommate at first, because you need a lot of different things, including a credit score. You need like a lot of background in the US, which might be very tricky if you don't have already like a very, very good position, either at a company or if you're just not established in the country. So I waited 9 months until I got this apartment I'm in right now with a friend, and that's also because there were 2 people applying for the apartment, and we had a broker as well for the apartment, which helped us secure it, because there were so many people applying. So yeah, that's probably like the biggest adjustment, the fact that everything is so different. It's a different system. The fact that everything is paid with credit is also very different. And when you learn your way around this, it's amazing. But you just have, I think, the fact that I had a background just with like only spending money that I had was definitely very useful, because here you can spend what you don't have with credit, which can be very, very tricky if you're not disciplined, let's say. One of the main differences also is probably the way people work here, which I really admire. And sometimes it can be tricky sometimes, but the main thing for me is the work ethic here, and that it is true when people say that Americans live to work, whereas Europeans work to live. I feel like it's kind of cliche, but there is some truth in this. There's a good and a bad side to both of these things. But yeah, I just feel like here people are extremely motivated. They are, and I'm not saying obviously that Europeans are not, but it goes to a certain level where I just feel like everyone always, at least in the people that I know and that everyone that I'm surrounded with, is very motivated all the time to have new projects, new endeavors, new travels. There is more of a passion in people here, from my experience always. Like, don't quote me on this, but yeah, the work ethic here, the fact that people are very committed to what they do and are always looking to grow and do more and have more is very powerful, and it really motivates me a lot more than in Europe. It's also much more, everything is faster here, which also is an adjustment, but it's something that I personally really enjoy, especially in my 20s. I'm 26 right now, and I feel like in that time of life, it's something that is such a bonus and that you can really enjoy, and that is very beneficial to daily life. Also, another question that I got was, what is your favorite thing about living in New York, and what's your favorite place to relax? So my favorite place to relax is around the reservoir in Central Park. It is for me, the most peaceful place in New York. You can see the skyline, but you're in nature with water. And this is my absolute favorite place, and I always recommend people visiting to walk around the reservoir because it is absolutely stunning, and the view you have of this city is wonderful. So this is my favorite place to just wind down a little bit and not think of anything and just reflect, or just have a little bubble of peace in the city. My favorite part about living in New York, I would say, is, well, definitely not the prices, but because that is a whole other level compared to Europe. But my favorite thing is definitely the fact that you can get whatever you want in just a few hours. I feel like you can just, whatever you want, you can get it. And for me, coming from a very, very, very 5,000 people small town in the northeast of France, it was such a change to even another level than Paris, because Paris is already a bit like that and more like that in 2024, but it is kind of overwhelming, honestly. You have so many opportunities as well, which is one of the things I love the most. I feel like connections and meeting people is extremely important here because it's something you can really capitalize on, and you can get amazing opportunities thanks to just meeting the right person at the right time. And people are extremely friendly, extremely open-minded. And this is probably my favorite part, and that's the US in general. And some people will say, especially Americans, probably that New Yorkers are not really friendly. Well, compared to Europe, they're extremely friendly to me. So that's probably one of the things I love the most, that everyone is extremely welcoming. It's really a melting pot, and there are not a lot of people from New York. So you don't feel like you're not fitting in because it's just a mix of so many different backgrounds. And that's one of my favorite things for sure. And the last question about moving, about living in another country is, do I miss France, or do I miss living in Europe? And the answer is I don't, but I do miss some parts of it that are not the same here. For example, I miss the food so bad, because I'm sorry, but you can't replicate easy French food here in the US. You do have French restaurants and they're really good, but it's fussy and it's not actual French food. I don't know, they're amazing restaurants here. I love it so much, but the fact that you can get easy, cheap, delicious food in France and not here is something I miss so much. I mean, just to give you a few examples, because I think not everyone realizes this, but for example, cheese is like $10 if you want something quite good, and bread is at least $7, when in France you can get like cheese for €2 and bread for like 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 maximum euros. So it's such an adjustment. So I do miss the food and the easy access to good, cheap food that is just delicious. But other than that, I do not really miss anything, but sometimes, not in my daily life, but sometimes I wish there was a way to be in a less fast-paced environment when I don't necessarily feel like I want to be in such a fast-paced environment. I don't really know if that makes sense, to be honest, but sometimes I wish I could like spend a few weeks in Paris and come back here, just to reset a little bit, because, for example, last summer I spent 2 weeks in Paris to change my visa, and I told my mom after just a few days, like, I can't believe how quiet Paris is. And no one believed me. No one believed me until I think it was my cousin who went here was like, oh, it's actually so noisy here compared to Paris. And it is. And even a friend of mine who moved back to France after a few years here, she was like, it's so quiet in Paris. So it is true, but you don't necessarily realize it until you really compare the two for a little while. And sometimes I wish I had the option to just be in a quieter environment for an extended period of time, because it can be very tiring, unfortunately. And the fact that there is always noise, it is never completely quiet, and I do miss that sometimes. So other than that, I mean, I do miss the beautiful Parisian buildings and the beautiful landscapes and being able to travel in just a couple hours. You can be in a different country, you can be in a different climate, you can go to the south of France in just like a few hours with the train. Here, traveling is much more cumbersome, and it is like you need to spend at least $500 to now, especially to just go to another city, like either on the West Coast or something that is a little far away. So traveling here is a big investment compared to Europe, where it's much easier. And now I understand why Americans travel to like all the European countries when they go to Europe, because it's actually so easy compared to here. So that, I would say that's one of the things that I miss. But other than that, still very happy here and the way things are turning out. Now for daily life, I got a couple of questions on this, and I'm actually gonna mix this with work. But for daily life, how often do you work out? What's your workout routine? I do try to work out every single day. I go to a class, my favorites are SLT. I love Pure Barre. I love sometimes Soul Cycle, but it's a little too loud for me. I'm not a huge fan. I also love Vora. I do Wunderbar. I'm probably missing a few, but you can see on my stories I change things up quite often, and I really switch them up every single week. So I do a class every weekend. Tomorrow morning I'm gonna go to Vora with my friend Constance. She introduced me to that place in the Upper East Side, which I really, really like. And I do try to work out every day other than that. When I'm not going to a class, every single night after work, I do work out at home, unless I go to like for dinner out or for drinks out, and I don't have necessarily the time to do this at home. But other than that, I always work out when I come back from work. And one day out of 2, I will do yoga and strength training for like arms. And one day out of 2, I will do Pilates with the Pilates class. I will link it down below, but it's just Jackie's classes are absolutely amazing. Love them. I've been doing this for, I would say, 3 years now. And there are always like new classes. There are new instructors now as well. It's not just her. So definitely my favorite at home workout. So highly, highly recommend that. Now, when it comes to work, I got a question that I really liked, and it is, what's your favorite book that you've worked on at Asseline? Although it has been a challenge because it was one of the most complicated books I have ever worked on, but it's also my favorite to this day because it was literally doing a book about one of my favorite places in the world, and that was the Plaza Athénée book, the luxury palace hotel in Paris. To this day, it's still my favorite book. It's a beautiful, rich red color, and we sent a photographer there, one of the photographers we worked the most with, to Paris, and he shot the hotel, and it's just, the book is absolutely beautiful, and I would highly recommend you either buy it or just have a look at it if you go in store, or yeah, it's just such a beautiful book. And it's in our travel series, and the goal was to have the hotel as a destination. So it's also a very different approach to a hotel. It's not a hospitality book, it's a travel book, but to a hotel. So it's very, very interesting. The text is great. You really feel like you're immersed in that whole experience in Paris. So very exciting. It's one of my favorites ever. It was released last year. I worked on it for obviously a year. It always takes about a year to work on a book. And I actually got to stay at the Plaza for one night when I was in Paris last summer. And to this day, it is still the best experience I have ever had, because obviously it is absolutely not something I could have done on my own. I will tell you that, because I stayed in an absolutely stunning suite, and it's like 4,000 euros to stay there for the night, which obviously I mean, I could have done this after saving for 2 years maybe, but that was definitely not on the plan. So I stayed there for one night to experience the place, and they were just so kind to host me for this, and it was absolutely incredible. So that's my favorite book. Another question I got was, why did I choose the career that I have right now? And I've known what I wanted to do since I was 11. I bought Vogue for the very first time when I turned 11. And at first I was like, I don't know, I don't really like it. It's a lot of images because it was Vogue France, which is much more image-centered than word-centered compared to other editions of Vogue. But I bought Vogue for the first time at that time, and I was like, yeah, I like it, but I love the wording part more than the images. And there was not a lot of words. So I was a bit frustrated at first, but then I bought it again and again and again, and I bought a lot of other magazines as well. And I was just like, when seeing the masthead at some point, I was just like, that's what I want. I want my name in there, and I want to be part of this thing. So when I interned at Vogue when I was in Paris, I interned at Vogue Paris for a few months, and then I interned at L'Officiel as well, and I interned when I was in London at Women's Wear Daily as well. So I got a lot of journalistic experience before doing my fashion journalism master's in London. And I always knew that I wanted to do something with words, something in editorial in general. It got refined over the years, let's say, until I found this job. And to me, it is unfortunately not enough writing and editorial per se. It's a lot of management, which is not what I love the most, unfortunately. But I always knew that that's what I wanted to do, and I knew that I was just meant for this. I have always loved writing, reading so much. It has always been my biggest passion, so I guess it was just natural. I didn't really choose, I just chose I just made the decisions that I could get exactly that end goal, and I have always been extremely organized in the way I decide on my next steps, for example. So for me, it was always very straightforward, and there was no like shift in what I wanted to do. There was this one thing, and that's what I wanted to do, and I got it. So that's how I chose the career that I have right now, I guess, you know. And another question linked to this is, what are your next steps? Like, where do you see yourself in 10 years? What do you want to do next? So my ultimate goal, probably, I'm 26 right now, so by the time I'm 35, I would love to be able to work freelance full-time and to work on my own. I feel like this is really what I would enjoy the most. I had a shift last year when I was in Paris. I was like, I would love to split my time between Paris and not London. I mean, you never know. I might go back there as well, but with Brexit, it's a little complicated. But I would love to split my time between Paris and New York and be able to work for myself. I feel like that would bring me a lot of joy to be able to work with like an array of clients and doing copywriting, writing editorial, brand content. That's really what I truly enjoy and what I see myself doing for forever. But until then, I really want to stay in corporate America or just corporate in general, wherever it is. But I really want to stay with a company, because I feel like you're just learning so much working in either a big conglomerate or at a company. You're just learning all the groundwork to build your own knowledge. I will be able to work freelance once I have done all this with companies before, and I will be probably set up for success by then. But for now, it would be definitely having more responsibilities as an editor and potentially going towards something that is more about, branding in general and developing the brand strategy. I do enjoy so much the business aspect of it all as well. I'm really 50-50 in terms of I am a creative person. I enjoy writing, and I'm also a business savvy person, so it's really 50-50, and my goal is always to sell through words, especially when I work freelance and things like that. And mixing those two aspects is really what I enjoy the most. Having that kind of business selling point of view in mind, while also being creative and really being able to translate all the brand values in an enjoyable way for clients. And I'm just gonna finish up with some more random questions before we move on the second part of that video, which I'm gonna record in the living room, so you have a different little setting and it's not just me talking your ear off for 2 hours. But a few random questions. Do I have any upcoming trips planned? And yes, I do. It's not gonna be right away. This summer, I'm pretty much set because I'm not going anywhere. I'm just gonna spend like 1 day in the Hamptons at the beginning of August. That's pretty much it for the summer. But in the fall, I have planned the perfect European trip that I wanted to plan for a very long time. I'm going to be taking an entire week of work, which is something I have absolutely never done. So I'm kind of freaked out, but it's going to be for the best because I am going to be flying to Paris with Sasha and Christy, who I was staying with when I was in Newport Beach a few weeks ago at the beginning of May. So they're flying from LA, I'm gonna be flying from New York, and we're gonna meet there. I'm gonna show them around, and they have been to Paris before, but they haven't been in a while. So we are gonna spend, I don't really have the time frame in mind, but I'm gonna be flying on October 31st. So end of October and the first 2 weeks of November, I'm gonna be working from our Paris office the second week of my trip. So I'm gonna be working the second week, but fully off the first week. So the plan for this trip is to fly into Paris, spend 3 days there. We're then gonna take the Eurostar to London. We're gonna drive straight to the Cotswolds. We have already booked our beautiful little house in the Cotswolds, so we're gonna be staying there for, I believe it's 3 nights, 3 or 4, don't quote me on this. And after that, I will be going back to London, and I'm going to be staying in London until the end of the week. And my friend Adoxy is going to meet me. We are going to be spending those 4 days in London together. And after that, I'm going to be going back to Paris and spending another, I believe, 4 days working from Paris. Yeah, so that's going to be my big trip of the year. And I will tell you more about this when we are closer to that trip. But I will be flying business for the very first time in my life because I saved all my Amex points for, I would say, 9 months, something like this. So I only paid taxes on the tickets, and I got my tickets for free basically with my points. That was my goal of the year, to fly business. It's gonna feel like such an achievement because I have never done this before, and it's gonna be very new. So I will obviously take you along, and I will tell you all about it when we are closer to that trip. But yeah, that's really my big trip of the year. Another question, like random question, what's your next purchase? So I have purchased quite a lot of things, especially because I was doing a lot of freelance work over the past few months. So I definitely reinvested that in some of the key things that I wanted to buy for my wardrobe. My next purchase is there are 2 purchases that I still want to make this year, but that are not like essential per se, but that I have in mind. I do want to buy a pair of tan pointed toe flats, either in suede or in regular plain leather. I have seen a pair at Ralph Lauren that I really like and tried on when I was in the Hamptons and that I really liked, but there's also a pair in suede from Emmy London that I really like. They're both in the $400 or $500 price point, so it's not something I'm gonna buy right now, but that's probably gonna be my next purchase. And my ultimate purchase of the year is gonna be, I believe, in Paris because it's so much less expensive in France. I do want to buy a Rimowa carry-on. I don't think I will ever invest in the actual full-size suitcase because it just gets destroyed when you put it on a plane, so there's no way I'm doing that. But I do want to get the carry-on because I have my Louis Vuitton hand carry-on, but every time I feel like I'm gonna lose an arm carrying that thing around, so I do need a proper carry-on suitcase. So that's probably what I'm gonna buy when I go to Paris. And so these are probably gonna be my last 2 purchases of the year, but we'll see. TBD. And finally, the last question, which is going to be the perfect transition to the next part of that video, is what is the best luxury purchase you have ever made? So I will take you along to the living room and we are gonna walk through my bag collection and what's in my bag. Okay, so best luxury purchase I have ever made. It was made on October 14, 2023, so last fall, because it is obviously the one and only Birkin that I have. I'm gonna tell you just a little bit how I got it, because obviously I got a lot of questions about like, how the hell did you get this? And because I obviously don't have a lot of purchasing history with Hermes, not at all. When I went to the store, so it was on a super rainy Saturday morning. I don't want to say, but I'm pretty sure that the weather definitely helped because the store was completely empty. So I would highly recommend going on a very rainy day when you wouldn't expect anyone shopping at that point. But when I got it, at that time I had only purchased a few months before, I had purchased the Oran at the Deauville store, and I had purchased this Click H bracelet at the Paris airport. And when you buy at the airport, it is not recorded in your buying history anyway, so it doesn't matter. I basically had bought just a pair of $700 flats at this point. I was pretty much set because this is a bag that I have saved money for a total of 5 years to get it. So it is definitely not a given. And I was almost ready to buy it. I just wanted to go to the store to actually try it on. I first went to the meat packing store. I had an appointment there because you can make, I believe you can still make an appointment there. So I had made an appointment. I asked to try them on. They didn't have the 35, which is the one I wanted. I tried on the 30. Basically, I was told, like, you can make a wish. That's it. To this day, I still have never heard of them. And I didn't buy anything else. I just checked out the store. Then I just wanted to see if they actually had a 35 for me to try on, because at this point I had never tried on a Birkin in my entire life. So I went to the store in Wall Street, which is a smaller store, and I just asked, like, do you have a 35 to try on? They didn't. I explained that I wanted a 35, and the sales assistant was very rude, saying like, well, you know, you can't just like barge in here and get a Birkin. I was like, yeah, I'm well aware of this because I have saved for 5 years, so I'm aware that you need to wait. And on my way home, I was thinking, you know what? I'm just gonna stop by the Madison store because I have my makeup on, I'm ready. I can just check out another store, like the third and final store in New York. So let's just pop in there and let's see. And so I came in, it was very, very empty because rainy day. I went to the top floor. All the bags are on the top floor at the Madison flagship, and it's just the most beautiful store ever. I highly recommend you going there, even just to have a look, just browse, because it's absolutely gorgeous. I gave my name to the person in charge of just like, you know, giving you a sales assistant, basically. A sales assistant came to me saying like, what are you looking for today? So I told him I would like to try on a Birkin 35. He asked me what colors, so I gave him a few different colors that I was interested in. And after that, he told me, if I have one in Etoupe, are you gonna buy it? And I was so taken aback because that is a very American thing to do. I feel like so straightforward and literally asking you like so transactional, like, are you gonna buy this thing? So I told him like right away, yes, if you have it, I will buy it right now. And I was obviously not prepared intellectually to buy it that day. But so he went to, I believe, like the storage area or whatever, and he went away for 30 minutes. I didn't hear back anything, and then he came back empty-handed. I thought, yeah, that there's like they don't have it, or they checked or something and they don't have it, or I don't know. He came back to me saying like, yes, we have it, we'll bring it for you. And I was like, I started freaking out because I really didn't want to believe it. I waited another 30 minutes almost. I was really freaking out because I thought like they're just like making fun of me at this point. 30 minutes after, he came back with obviously the massive Hermes box, and that's when I knew it was like, okay, they actually have it. And he took me to a private room and he opened the box and I was like, no, that's not gonna be the right one. It can't be. And in the end, it was it. It was the exact Birkin I had dreamed about. And I asked him, like, what other colors and things do you have? Like, what other options do you have right now? And he was like, I just have this one and another one in black, and that's it. It was pure luck, honestly. But I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that during all this time that I waited, because it doesn't take 30 minutes to get a bag out of stock area. So I'm pretty sure that they probably checked my purchasing history, but again, I had just purchased a pair of shoes before. Was he just looking to make a sale? Was it because I had bought one thing? Because did they just Google me? I don't know. I'm pretty sure there was a background check in there because it took a lot of time. I will never know what happened that day, but it was honestly pure luck. I'm gonna show it to you. You've seen it. Most of you have probably seen it already on my Instagram account, or yeah. So this is, and it's full at the moment, so there's a few things in there, but this is the Birkin 35 in Togo leather, and the color is Etoupe, and it is with the gold hardware. I get a lot of questions on, is it the right size? Do you like this size? Yes, 100%. I would buy this one again because I can take it to work and I can put so much things in there. It's pretty impressive, honestly. And it still looks like just very elegant, and it's not like massive either. It still looks very just pared back and streamlined, and it's not bulky or anything. So yeah, that is it. And that's literally everything I had wished for since I was, I think, 12, I would say. For me, it's the ultimate achievement. I know that it's a very triggering kind of purchase because obviously it is extremely expensive. I do not feel comfortable sharing the price here, but you can totally Google it and you will find it right away on Pursebop or something like this. And those prices are accurate. It was actually a little bit more expensive than what I had found on Pursebop, like by a few $100s. It is an investment to a point that I had never spent that amount of money on anything else in my life before. But to this day, even if it hasn't been 10 years, but it is the best purchase I have ever made because it is the only purchase that I had wanted for years and years and years, and it never failed, and year after year I wanted it even more, so I knew that it would be the best investment I would ever make. But I do recommend you try at least going in store if you're looking for one, because the resale prices, I can resell this one double what I paid for, and so I would still recommend trying going in store, see what you can get in store, because for me the resale price just is completely ridiculous and it is not something I could have afforded. Yeah, best investment I've ever made. This is the one. Another one is definitely the Louis Vuitton carry-on, because I have worn and used this thing to death at this point. The handles are completely like a dark brown instead of being a very light leather. So these are the two best things, and probably the Manolo Hangisi that I got in blue when I moved to New York on my 24th birthday. That's what I got as a celebration of moving to New York. So yeah, these are my best investment pieces. I'm gonna now walk you through my small designer bag collection because I have been requested this several times. There are 5 other bags that I want to show you, and these are really like the core pieces in my wardrobe in terms of accessories. I do not regret buying any of them. There are some other bags that I have bought in the past that I regretted and that I resold after a few months or years. If I don't wear it, if I don't use it, I will resell the thing, like the item, right away. It's very funny because a lot of people tell me like, oh, you must be like, you're so materialistic and you must have like so many things, but I'm very, very streamlined in the way, in everything I have. And I don't have a lot of things. I rewear the same things over and over and over again. And that top is a great example because I bought this one in 2019 when I was interning in New York, and I still wear it every single summer. So yeah, I really believe in like having a core foundation wardrobe with yes, expensive pieces, but that you get so much wear out of. So the very first designer bag that I bought was when I turned 18. I got my baccalaureate with like highest honors, and I got some money from my grandmother, I got some money from my parents, and I had saved the rest of it, which is most of it. And when I moved to Paris at 18, I went to the YSL store and bought my very first designer bag, which I think it's the only thing I will never get rid of, because it has a very special place in my wardrobe. But I don't know if you can properly see the color, but it's like a deep burgundy, and I mean it's the perfect like evening bag. I still use it a lot for like going for dinner or things like that. I don't wear it as much as I used to. One thing I have to say, I don't know if it's just because it's this particular model or if it's just the brand. I don't know, because it's the only YSL bag that I have, but it really, I don't know if you can see, but it didn't age well at all. Unfortunately, like the corners are almost destroyed at this point, and I may not be the person who cares the most about her like designer items. I tend to be a bit rough sometimes, but still I do take care of every single piece I have. And unfortunately, like the corners are not in a good shape, but the leather held up very, very well. So I think it might just be like more about the details. But anyway, so that was my very first designer purchase that I made when I moved to Paris. The second luxury bag that I bought was after. So in 2017, I interned at Chanel, and at the time when the Chanel flat was only $3,000 or something like this. But I interned at Chanel for 3 months, and they were paying their interns very, very well. It made up for all the unpaid internships I did after. So I interned at Chanel for 3 months, and they asked me if I wanted to continue working for them on Sundays for the rest of the year. So for 6 months, I worked every Sunday at Chanel at Printemps Haussmann in France. And it was honestly like the best experience ever. Just a little side note, but it was absolutely incredible to be close to luxury this way, in a way that I had never been before. And with the money that I saved from this internship, I got my very first like real proper bag, which is the Celine belt, which I believe you can still buy today, even if it's this was like Phoebe Philo era, but I believe you can still find the exact same. And this has stood the test of time so well. I would recommend you buying a Celine. I don't know if it's still the same today, because I haven't bought a Celine bag in 7 years now, but it is brand new. It is literally brand new. I actually need to clean it up a little bit, but you can basically just see a little bit the corners. But I have worn this bag, I would say at least 3 or 4 times a week since I bought it in 2017. And at the time, I believe it was 1,700 euros. It is literally new, even in this color, which I was very surprised about. So I would recommend investing in one of their bags over and over again. It's probably like the best bang for your bucks you're ever gonna get out of a luxury purchase. So yeah, still one of my very favorite bags to this day. So glad I got this color as well, and not like the black or something darker, because the beige one, you can wear it with every single thing in your wardrobe. Next up, so after I bought this Celine bag, I didn't buy another luxury bag in probably 3 years, because I was still like interning. I was interning for free. That was the nuance there. I basically couldn't afford any kind of designer item for a few years after that. And then when I started working, I was working freelance. I was working in my full-time job in London after my MA, and I was just like burning the candles at both ends when it came to work, but I could afford so many things. And that's probably one of the reasons I kept working so much and doing freelance. Like I had 3 freelance jobs at the time, plus my full-time job at Net-a-Porter. So it was a lot going on. And so that's how I could afford this one, which is the Celine Classic. I believe it's like the Classic Box or something, I don't think it's available anymore. I think the Triomphe replaced it. Don't quote me on this again, but I think so. And so it's very, very thin, but you can put so many things in there. It's pretty impressive because it can, like, it expands. It might look a little darker on camera, but this is the just regular camel brown color with the gold details. And I got this one secondhand because at the time, I believe it was like, now it seems normal with all the luxury prices increasing, but at the time I believe it was like $3,500 or euros, brand new in store. And because it is such a tricky leather that you can scratch very, very easily, I just didn't have the bandwidth to invest that much. But I bought it secondhand. I don't remember on which website, but it was a very good deal because I bought it 900 euros and I had it authenticated, so it is 100% real. It was just like a very, very good deal. And it had some scratches on the front that you can probably see, but it has a very like vintage, worn look. And I still love it so, so much to this day. I don't wear it a lot in the winter, but I do wear it a lot in the summer because I have like the orange slides that are the exact same gold color. Very good investment, but I wouldn't, even today, I wouldn't pay full price for this one, even if it's not available anymore, but if it were, I wouldn't, because the leather scratches so easily. It's not the most practical either, because when you open it, like this entire thing falls off. So if you open it when you wear it, like everything falls in the street. So it's definitely not the most practical bag, but I do like it as a little evening bag or just crossbody, and you can still put a lot of things in there. So good investment, but wouldn't buy it full price. And so until the Birkin, and then until this spring, I hadn't bought any other designer bags. And I actually got for my birthday something that I didn't have on my mind, and I got interested in this very quickly. Just in a few weeks, I was like, oh, actually, I think I need this thing, because I realized that I didn't have any kind of tote bags where you can just like put all your junk in it. And oh my God, this has made such a difference. And so I bought the Goyard Saint-Louis, which is the least expensive version. There is no zipper on top or anything. It's like their entry level tote bag, because I was like, I'm not sure I'm gonna use it so much, and I am using it so much. I'm taking it to work almost every single day. And I love the fact that you can just like throw it around and it doesn't scratch. It doesn't, like, you can fold it. It is just so practical. And it's the first time I had like a practical designer bag. Sorry, it's been a little, I haven't used it in a couple days, so it's fallen a bit. But I bought it in gray, and this is the small version, because I tried on the bigger one and I liked it, but I feel like it's more when you're traveling, and I wanted something for work. So when I travel, it tends to be a little small, but to take to work, it's actually perfect. So if you're looking for something for really like travel days, let's say, I would take the Grand Modèle, which is the GM, so the bigger size. But this one is the small one, Saint-Louis. So I have my organizer in there. This is from Amazon. I'll link it down below. It's the best organizer ever. There are so many pockets. It's just amazing. And you have that little thingy to put on the wallet that comes with it, because there is a wallet that I'll show you later. So yeah, that's my birthday bag from this year. And then recently I got like most recent designer bag, which is less expensive than the other ones, that I don't regret buying at all, because I actually use it so much more than I thought I would. I even take it to work. I was wearing the other day this top and the orange sandals, and it just looked like so put together. I didn't think I would use it that much. I bought the Loewe basket bag, and I hesitated so much with the colors because I didn't know if I wanted the Celine one or if I wanted the brown one. But I looked at the Celine one in stores, and I don't know, but it looked very, I don't know, not really elegant and kind of not well finished. I don't know, maybe it was just one. But when I saw this one, I was like, no, the white one, I do want a white bag so bad. So that's gonna do it for now. But I bought, yeah, the white leather with the white leather details basically. And you can adjust the straps. I do not necessarily adjust them. I feel like the longer version is just fine. You can carry it with your hand or just put it on your shoulder. It's very elegant, but it's very summery at the same time, and it's such a classic at this point. This one, I mean, you can look on the website basically, but I think it was $6.90 or something like this. So it's obviously not the same price as the other designer bags that I have, but it's a very nice summer bag, and I feel like I just wear it all the time in the end. So definitely a good purchase. I would highly recommend. And actually, for the Goyard, I know that the prices are not online, and I did find some on, I think it was Purse Bob also, but it was not accurate. So the small Saint Louis was $1,700. I'm just gonna put it out there because there is no price anywhere, so might be helpful for some of you. But anyway, so that's my little designer bag collection. So we have 6 different items, and I'm just gonna walk you through one last thing, which is what's in my bag, because when I bought the Goyard for my birthday, I wanted to create my perfect adult bag in which I would have everything I could need. And so I created that very specifically. I'm gonna walk you through it because it's always something I enjoy watching when people share like what's in their bag, what they carry around with them. So I'm gonna show you what I have in my Birkin 35 at the moment. So let's dig in. So when buying the Goyard, I got this one, like this little wallet that comes with the bag. So when you're $1,700, you're getting the wallet as well. And I just use this as a regular wallet. I have in there, like, what do I have? I have my UK driving license, very useful, like identity card, laundry card, yeah, and just like all these little things. I have like my word card as well, my cleaner's receipt. That's my main wallet basically, and I don't carry a lot of things around, so that's definitely enough for me. I don't need to invest in another wallet. And the other small leather good that I have is the card holder from Goyard that I got at the same time when I bought the bag, because I really wanted to have like the perfect bag inside and out. And so I have in there my credit cards, I have my Metro card and my New York driving license, and a couple debit cards as well. So that's it. Then I always have tissues. I bought these, I wanted like pretty tissues. So I got these Terre one from Amazon, and they're just like, they're just very elegant. Another thing, just practical, my Touchland. I always have this with me. I feel like it's super practical in terms of like format. You can just put it anywhere and it doesn't like, I'm not afraid of it spilling or anything, so I just carry this thing around. Then I have some mints, these from Barclays. I'll link everything down below anyways, so if you're in the mood to buy some things for your purse as well, you can buy the same. But these are like the mini Barclays peppermint. Actually, I finished them and just bought some other ones, but I just kept the box because I feel like it's such a nice little format. I always have a lighting charger for my phone because I have the iPhone Pro Max 14, and so it's with the very latest cable. It's a different lighting port, so I did buy one with the USB cable that doesn't come with the phone when you buy it, and plug it on my computer at work if needed. Then keys. Always have my little AirPods with me, and that's also on the more like practical side. I'm still looking for a prettier version of this, but that's the best I got right now. I have this little Whole Foods foldable bag. I always have it with me. It's come in handy so many times so far. I got just like the black version. I tried to go for like something pared back, but it doesn't really exist for now. So yeah, always having this with me if I run errands or something. Then I bought this little comb on Amazon. It's super, super small, but oh my God, it comes in handy also so many times. I will link it down below. I think it's not even like $10 or something, but it does the trick, and very, very lightweight, which I always love. Another thing that I bought when I got my Goyard and created my what's in my bag is this Chanel mirror. I had wanted this for so long, and I was like, yeah, no, it's like, I'm not gonna spend $40 on a mirror, and I ended up breaking mine. So I just ended up buying this. But yeah, it's just a 2-side mirror. and it comes in this little pouch so you are not scratching it or anything. Then I always have a very small little powder because I have very oily skin. So I always need a little powder, especially in the summer. If I'm going like for drinks, or to dinner, after work, I always carry this around. This is the by Terry. I will also link it down below. Let me show you. It is the cutest thing. You have a very small, I don't remember the name for this thing, but applicator to put on the powder, little by Terry. So very, very cute. And I have this around like in my bag every day. Then I have the Diptyque. This is the 10 milliliters. So I believe that was a sample that I got when I don't even know where I got this honestly, but it's the Dosan from Diptyque, and I definitely am gonna buy this perfume at some point because it smells so good, and it's a perfume you can wear year round. It's not like summery or wintry, and I just love it so much. So I always have this with me because I don't know why, but every time I leave the house I always forget to put perfume on. So I do have mine at home, like a big bottle of the one I have right now is the Coco Mademoiselle in 100 milliliters, but one day out of two I just forget to put on perfume before leaving the house. So it's always very handy to have this with me because I always realize that I don't have perfume right when I'm downstairs. So two other things. I always have a lip balm with me. At the moment I have the Tower 28 one, the SOS Lip Softy. Really good, highly recommend. And I always have also a tinted regular lip gloss, and that's the Tower 28 Shine On Lip Jelly in Cashew. I think I had mentioned this before, but it's one of my favorites. You can see how much I've used it already. It stays on for such a long time, and it's very hydrating. I always have like very dehydrated lips. So these two, perfect combo to have around all the time. The last thing is something that I had wanted for so long because obviously I love to write. I love to have an actual like physical list and things like that. So I bought from Smith, I'm not sure if you say Smithson or Smithson, but the English stationery brand. And I got this super, you can see like the size of my hand, but this super small notebook. It says The Boss, but it's from Smithson of Bond Street, and it's in this beautiful navy color. Yeah, it's a very little notebook, but I just jot down some ideas or lists. I put my goals in there for the year, what I want to work on, things like that. So it just comes in very handy. And I bought also from Smithson the little gold pen that goes with it. It's like literally the same size. It's so small, but it's just the cutest thing ever because I did want to have something like tangible to write and not just take notes on my phone with me every single day. So yeah, that's it. So yeah, that's what's in my bag. I think I have talked to you a lot today, so I will stop here. I got another question actually, which was, what is your dream designer bag now that you have the Birkin? And it's very tricky. I think I have two, which obviously, I mean, never say never, but which I am not gonna buy anytime soon, but that's like way in the future. But there are two that I really want. Obviously, I would love a Kelly at some point in 32, and Cellier, obviously, because I don't like the slouchy retourné one. Probably in a light color, I would say, but any kind of neutral or maybe a gold or something. I don't really know because that's not in the plan for now anyway, so I'm not really thinking about it. But another one that I hope to get before, I mean, they also increased their prices so much, and it's very frustrating when you know that a few years ago it was just like half price basically. But I might get it secondhand because secondhand it is much more might be a bit of a stretch, but it is less expensive secondhand, which is not always the case. Like for example, Chanel is almost the same price secondhand. So I would love to, in the end, buy a Chanel flap, I would say, but not in the near future. That's not really like my dream bag anymore. But my next like investment bag would be a Lady Dior in medium or like one of the biggest sizes, but probably the medium in white because it is just so elegant. I was saying before that I wanted a white bag, and this one for the summer is perfect, but it's obviously not the same price point because I feel like when I bought this, the Loewe basket, actually, I popped into the Dior corner at Bergdorf Goodman and I tried on the Dior one, and it is stunning, but it is $6,100 or $6,200 at this point, and a few years ago it was like $3,000. So it's just very frustrating when you think about it. I do understand the increase, of course, but it's like double at this point. So I would probably buy this secondhand, find a good one at some point. I might do this, but definitely not this year. But yeah, that's my wish list. Anyway, I will close this video down now. Thank you so much for watching. I hope I didn't give you too much information, that you still enjoyed watching through all this. Let me know if you have any questions or if you have any recommendations on what you want me to talk about in the next video. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and